Trader.com's Daily Brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the TRI's, the Rational Investors Daily Brief. This is Julian. I know you're probably surprised to be hearing me today, but I'm on today because, a couple things. One, I don't have a camera because I'm still in Vietnam. I should be back in Thailand next week. Had my new visa approved, so I'm good for 5 years in Thailand without any kind of hassle or harassment. Oh, my mic just fell. We've got a bit of a weird setup here in Vietnam. Got the best setup I can for like a mobile setup. But yeah, so here for another couple days, but I should be back in the normal area by next week. Looks like we've only got 2 people watching right now. I'm going to go through my normal spiel. We're going to look at what's going on in the general markets, check some news, and then we're going to talk about, S&P, as I always like to talk about. And then we're going to talk about a couple different stocks. And then we're going to look at good old Bitcoin and maybe a couple altcoins. And then we'll do the Afterparty. And in the Afterparty, that's when I answer all of your most juicy questions. Anything that I can't talk about publicly, I will talk about privately. You have any questions about Vietnam, Thailand? Happy to tell you. I give travel advice in the Afterparty sometimes. And we'll go over a bunch of various altcoins and other stocks that you guys want to look at. That's your time to ask me about kind of anything that you want to hear about. All right. So without further ado, let's get into what's going on in the market. Today, as everyone kind of knows, right, we've got FOMC meeting minutes coming out at 1 a.m. That's going to be the big thing. 1 a.m. is 1 a.m. for me here in Vietnam, but I think that's noon or 1 p.m. for people on the East Coast. And people in other time zones, it's, whatever your time is minus this. Hi, Constantine. Hello, Michael. I can see your comments in the chat. So that's the big thing, obviously. And then tomorrow we have flash manufacturing PMIs. Those are kind of important. Unemployment claims, obviously, if this spikes, you're going to get a dip in the market. But if it's consistent, then probably nothing's going to happen. And then finally on Friday, you have core retail sales in Canada. And, Powell's speaking on Friday. So you've got FOMC here and then Powell's speaking. So, and Jackson Hole, right? So this is going to be a wicked next 2 days. I wouldn't be surprised if this massive rally we've had kind of gets turned around and we get, this is when we say they go after the stops. But if we go and look at, remember I talked about last week, I talked about fear and greed, and I said, we need to get back to at least neutral. So you can see before we were at fear, like the previous close was fear, and now suddenly we're at neutral. And that's what I want to see before. That's what I wanted to see before we could see any huge pullback again in the market or any kind of drop. It needed to keep going up until this fear and extreme fear indications kind of abated. And if we look at crypto, interestingly enough, I'm going to try refreshing this again, but crypto, interestingly enough, is still in the fear area. It actually dropped from where we were before, which is interesting to see. So, crypto is still in. I mean, maybe crypto can go up while the rest of the market rolls over. Maybe there is actually a decoupling that happens, but I would be surprised if that happens. I don't see it actually happening. So that's that. I wanted to touch on that to show that in the actual legacy markets, we're back to neutral. A bit concerning for anybody that's on the long side. And let's go to the S&P and kind of talk about that. By the way, you can see Bitcoin's basically done nothing through a lot of August. We had that huge drop from 65K, then it bounced back, and then we've just kind of been flatlined. I'll talk about it more later in the show. For now, let's get to the S&P. Where is it? All right, S&P right here. So I talked about before, these were the major levels. We had 1.618, then 2.618, and you're 4.669 up here at 5,960. But I said that if we hit 2.618, we'd probably do something like this. Doop, doop, something like that. That's what I said 2 weeks ago. You can go back and check the show. And that's still what I see happening. And you can see us curving down on a 4-hour chart with RSI. We're rolling over here. We had a stop run this morning. Okay, massive stop run right here. This is, if I wanted to reverse the market, this is what I would do. I would run the stops and then I'd roll over. And that's what we're possibly seeing. And this is part of our 3-wave series that I talked about where, and again, I'm not an expert on this, but if I was going to look at this as a 3-wave series, I would say this is my 3rd wave. And then my 4th wave has to be some kind of pullback. Maybe it takes a while and we come back down to here. And then my 5th wave is something like this, all the way up here. Actually, usually our 5th wave will be a 1.618. I need my booklet. Where's my booklet on Elliott waves? I have to review that material. But a lot of times I believe it will be a 1.618 to 1.382 extension from the length of the 3rd wave. And that would put us up here at 5,800 to 5,900, that kind of area, which lines up a bit with our 4.669 up here. So this is where the final rally could go to after we get this kind of pullback, which I see is a massive oscillation and stop runs before that one last move higher. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for the S&P. And if you were in longs and you rode your longs up from the bottom, if you bought down here when most of retail was selling, because believe it or not, most of retail sold down here. If you were buying, first of all, congratulations. Second of all, I hope you took some profits here. This is an area where you really want to take profits. And I think I've extensively emphasized this in the past 2 shows, that this is a good profit-taking area. Wait for this to cool off and then consider hopping into that one last long if you want to, or just exit your longs and then consider waiting for this scenario and then possibly hunting shorts after we top out up here. You can see the rolling over right on a 4-hour. On a daily, I think it's not as obvious, but you do have a 7, 8, and 9 that have come in. Further, if we let's get rid of my little Elliott wave, and let's adjust here. So I'm gonna hide this into the lower time frames. Settings. Let me get rid of this on a weekly and daily chart. All right, so this is more clear for you guys. If we look at this, right, and we look at the lows here, like that, we're right at, this is basically the short zone. If you were in a short, this is where you'd want to come up to, and this would be the perfect zone to short. So 0.886 to 0.786. This is the area where you'd want to short now to the downside. So if you think that we're not going to get another leg up, then you would short here. But if you think we're going to get that other leg up like I do, then you short up here, obviously. But there's definitely going to be likely a pullback here, or at the very least a pause. This 7, 8, and 9 is normally quite a big signal, although you can see the last 2 times it came in, the market actually pushed higher. We stopped and then boom, push higher. Same thing here, stopped and then push higher. So again, it's not always correct. It's not. But you did get a reversal here, right? Stopped, had a big push higher, and then another reversal to the other side. So not always correct. But sometimes, like when you had a 7, 8, 9 here, we paused, did nothing for a while before finally rolling over and then moving higher. It's just something to pay attention to, just like any other indicator. By the way, hello Ghost, hello Cotter. No, hopefully that's made it clear. But with the daily RSI, we're still fully in the green. This is a very green, uppy looking RSI. And that's why I'm looking at these lower time frames for this kind of rollover, especially like a 4-hour chart. And what I expect to see is we get something like this, continue a pullback, and MACD like this, and then a move up, and then another slighter one, and then we get that push. And something like that pulls back here, and then you eventually get the move higher. So that would be like this, and maybe we take out these lows, and then we just shoot up. And that's that RSI where the daily stays green in the green zone, and the 4-hour is the only one that's pulling back. That's actually a very bullish sign. And that's something I would like to see for the continuation of this bull case. So let me delete some of this stuff. Hold on. Let me, this mic has like a mind of its own here. I'm trying to adjust to make it stable. Okay. I think it seems to be, that's more stable. All right. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Okay. I'm gonna delete some of this. Okay, hopefully that makes some sense on the S&P. If you have any questions, feel free to ask right now, or forever hold your peace, at least related to the legacy market. So that's that. Another one is Tesla, right? I've been watching Tesla for a while. So 4-hour chart, Tesla also broke out. On a daily, we've got a 7 coming in. I mean, a lot of these larger stocks are going to look pretty much exactly the same as the S&P. And sometimes I feel silly even reviewing them because it's all, at the end of the day, very similar. And when you're in a bull market, it helps to look at individual stocks because they will go up at different paces. But when you're in a bear market, I just feel like, and I'm not saying we're in a bear market, but when you are in a market that's turning lower, usually everything seems to just go down. You don't really get any stocks that go up while everything else is going down. It's quite rare. So yeah, I don't really, I feel silly going through some of these names sometimes, but I feel like basically what I talked about with S&P, the same thing will happen with Tesla. Whatever it does, Tesla's probably going to do something similar. Hi, Rocky. So normally I don't do Wednesdays, but this week Brian is away. We are having a guest on tomorrow and another guest on Friday. And the one guest tomorrow was not able to make it today. So I decided to step in and share my words of wisdom with everyone. And tomorrow we will bring on the new guest. So that's kind of why. Just some fun, different types of daily briefs while Brian is away on vacation. And once he's back next week, we'll get back to the normal routine. But hopefully you guys enjoy the guests in the meantime and my little silly Thursday show. Okay, so that's Tesla. Obviously a big driver is NVIDIA, right? Again, it's going to be similar. Look at, we have the 7, 8, and 9. It's exactly the same. It tagged that 2.618, which is almost exactly the same as S&P. And we've got the final target up here. I don't even know why I talk about these, but maybe it's just for the point of showing you guys how similar it all kind of is. Unless you look at really low cap stocks, those are the only things that might kind of move on their own. Let's look at DXY. DXY broke down hard and it's just dying here. There's this massive trend line that I originally pointed out a long time ago as a big breakout, and I thought we would get a huge move higher. But instead, it was... Sorry, hold on. I was hearing some kind of noise. But instead, we're getting this like pullback to this trend line. But I expect this trend line to act as a major support level. And you can see how a 7 is coming in here. So if we go to a lower time frame, right? You can see how this 4 hour is possibly putting in a little bit of a divergence, obviously, and it's very oversold, right? So something like this, and we're on the other side, and now we're kind of trying to put in a W. So I can see the dollar having a brief bounce here while the S&P pulls back / pauses. I'm going to get rid of this line. Oops, no, I want that bigger line. I'm going to get rid of this one. Yeah, so you can see this is our big trend line from all the way back 2022 to 2023 to now we're at 2024. And I think it should act as some type of like, it should create some kind of stability here and act as a resistance level. But so far it seems to be like it's pushing through it. But I have a feeling the Fed minutes and Powell speaking and Jackson Hole is going to cause the reversal here. So you're going to get a US dollar reversal, and in the S&P, you're going to get that pullback, and everything is going to have a catalyst, and the catalyst will be the Jackson Hole and Powell speaking. Maybe the beginning, or actually interesting thought, maybe with the release of the FOMC minutes, that's when we get the pullback in the S&P and then the bounce in DXY. And then when we get to Jackson Hole, Powell says something that makes the market rally again. And then that's when you get your last hurrah all the way up to that 6,000 level. And then we can start the real fall in September, which, you know, Brian says it's not called the fall for nothing. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense as a theory. That's my general theory. I'm not 100% sure on that one. I don't recommend trading off of it, but it's something that I think is extremely likely scenario. And it would make sense because these are major news announcement events, and major announcements are used as an excuse to move markets. I don't think they're necessarily the reason markets move. I think they're used as an excuse. Okay, that's DXY. You guys like to look at gold, right? So gold's up here, 2,000, 25,000. You know, it's up in my red zone of where I expected gold to eventually go. So yeah, we're sitting up here on a weekly. So if I bought gold all the way down here in the 2000s, this is where I would kind of be considering selling it up here. And you can see on the weekly how we have, this was the original uptrend, and then the breakdown here, and then the recovery, and then you're going to get your second breakdown. So I think, you know, I would be a little bit concerned about gold up here because it looks like it's putting in a potential divergence. You have a second 7 and 8 on the weekly. On the daily, you have an 8 and 9 coming in. So if you're a gold bull and you're long gold, I would consider possibly taking some profits here. I think it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea to consider taking profits, especially considering where the US dollar is. Just think about it. I'm not going to give you exact targets and that kind of stuff, but I think a pullback for gold would make sense, at least to like the 50-day moving average down here, 22,400 or so, at least run the stops. Okay, so that's gold. Let's go into crypto. I know most of you are crypto nerds here and you like crypto, so we should jump into that and spend the rest of the time kind of talking about a couple things. Bitcoin, as I mentioned originally. So first of all, on the weekly chart, Bitcoin looks like shit. Really need to see a turnaround here before we can expect any kind of major bull run. I've talked about in the past how this kind of looks like a, and I don't know why my lines are gone, but this basically looks like, right, like this, bull flag. Oops. Yeah, just like that, right? So that's basically a bull flag, and Bitcoin's just forming a bull flag before it has its next move higher. And I don't know where, I used to have like a bull flag drawn here, a very nice one. I don't know what happened to it, along with a midpoint location that really helped with trading it. But on a daily chart, you can see how we've essentially flatlined because you have a bullish MACD, an RSI that's in the middle zone with really no direction, and then you have a weekly that's bearish. So those are kind of conflicting indicators. Yeah, 4 hour. You can see the 4 hours flatlined. Everything's kind of flatlined. It's not fun to trade crypto when things are like this. It's very dangerous, especially on any kind of leverage, because they're just going to run your stops on both sides. And it's going to be difficult to make any kind of decent profit. So recommended to be careful on the leverage side for crypto. And honestly, I don't see any big move happening here unless the legacy markets make a move. I think crypto's kind of flatlined and it's following legacy markets. If we dump, maybe crypto dumps. If we rally, Bitcoin will probably rally. I don't see why. If we go back to look at our liquidation levels, so let's look at the liquidation heat map on Bitcoin. And let's go to so on the 12 hour, for example, you've got quite a bit at 60,300, and you have a couple at around like 58,550. It looks like more to the upside. If we go to like a 3-day, you can see there's liquidation levels really on both sides. Even go to a week, go further out. Around a month. A lot of people were talking about Bitcoin like at 40K. I would be surprised if that happens, but at the same time, I wouldn't be, from the point of view of like, if the traditional markets crash, I don't see why Bitcoin wouldn't go down with the ship. I think it would be significantly affected. I can see big liquidations down here, 26,000. 26 and 33. Those are the big levels, but 26 would be huge liquidation level. Let's see on a 1 week chart. Let's go back here to a place that makes sense. So it does look like there's a huge amount up here at 61,500, but at the same time, there's well distributed liquidations all the way down here that they might want to take out that are actually more valuable. That's where this kind of chart comes in handy, where we look at this and we're like, okay, well, where could they essentially profit from the most? And to me, it looks like if we go down even another 1,000, let's see, 58. So that's 682 million. And if we go up 1,000, 60,500. So that's like 500 million. And then over here. Yeah, so the downside has more by about 80 million, at least on this chart. And that's why I also like to look at this chart. So potential to move to the downside more so to hit those liquidations first, 5,800. Let's look at the chart again. I love how the numbers always jump of people watching when I talk about Bitcoin. And I always wonder if it's the algorithm like pushing it. So you could get a nice amount. I could see those liquidations happening down here at 58. There's no reason why that couldn't happen, although it seems on the 4 hour that we're pushing back to the upside. Would they want to, if they go to here is 235, 400, yeah, big difference. Yeah, this isn't extremely clear, but those are kind of your levels. But I don't have a concrete plan based on these levels. It's just there's too much noise. Sometimes you get very clear levels, but here I'm not seeing anything extremely clearly, and I can't give like a direction. I wish I could, but I can't. If we're following TradeFi, then I would lean towards going lower. But no, Qatar, we're up to 26 viewers. It says 26 now. Look at that. At 27. So you see it jumped with the mention of Bitcoin. It always jumps. I don't know why. Anyway, hello all the new people listening about Bitcoin. Now I'm nervous because there's so many people. If we go over 30, I might start stuttering. But on a 1 hour chart, it looks like it wants to push higher, right? If I adjust this, the MACD looks bullish. But if you look at these higher time frames, like there's too much conflict. The 4 hour is basically nothing. 8 hour is to the bullish side a bit. 12 hour and daily are bullish. 3 hours bearish. Weekly is very bearish. And when you get these kind of conflicts between the higher and lower time frames, that's when you get the stagnation like we've seen with Bitcoin and the stop runs on both sides, which is why I'm looking at those liquidation levels to see, okay, since Bitcoin's just ranging, where are they going to stop people out next? And that's the whole point of using something like this. But I feel like 61,500 is too far away, while 57,580 is quite a bit. I guess 57,580 is actually quite far. You need to move 2,000 to there, and then I guess you're also 2,000 here. So you're 2,000 on both sides, but this is a higher concentration, right? 600 million, while here, but some of these have like 400, 500 million. I think it'd be fine to also move to this side. It's pretty well balanced. There's really not a noticeable difference between either side, which is not providing me with much of direction. If we, however, go with my theory for the S&P and we apply it to this, then possibly when FOMC minutes come out, we get that spike down. all the way to 57. Take out all the stops, and then you move higher up to 61 after Jackson Hole. So spike down, oscillate down here, take out all the shit, and then Powell starts speaking, and you go up, and you take out the liquidations up there. That is a very plausible scenario that I could see play out. So that's kind of what I'm watching for. My point is that going into the FOMC minutes in an hour and a half, I don't recommend holding any leverage positions. You may get liquidated. And then same for Jackson Hole. So maybe just stay out of all of that if you like keeping your money. If you want to gamble a little bit, use a very small amount of money, but understand that you're kind of gambling. I would lay out your levels and stick with a theory and just kind of play it out rather than trying to make things up on the fly. Just my opinion of what would be the best way to play it based on playing a lot of these. So just all you have to do is predict where the stop runs are and then the direction. So, okay, stop runs are to the downside and more likely to get hit first, or are stop runs to the upside that are more likely to get hit first. You just have to be correct about which one is going to get hit first, but you can probably be rest assured that both are going to be hit eventually. Just be right about which one happens first. If you're wrong, you're screwed. That's all there. I mean, there's no really, I wish I could say there's more to it, but that's kind of how I see it. Okay, so right now it looks like it's rallying to the upside, but it's a short-term thing. I'm not seeing anything extreme. There's no big trade setup here for me. It's just kind of Bitcoin doing its thing. I think I showed enough related to that. Total 3. Again, it's going to just follow Bitcoin. It's a small player, but daily is bullish. Weekly is bearish. Look at how shitty this weekly looks. While these lower time frames are like partially bullish. And so because the weekly is so bearish and the daily is so bullish, that's why you kind of get these ranging markets. Same with the total 3. One that I always watch obviously is Rune, Sjord's favorite coin. And I also like Rune. And you can see Rune hit an 8 and we got a pullback. So very, very obvious and predictable there. Breakdown. And you have a 4-hour that looks like crap. So this is not an area where, I mean, you have a little bit of a divergence developing with MACD here, but this thing looks pretty bad. And I would say it's not a good idea to be in a long situation with this, and it could pull back all the way down to somewhere here, like 346. We can actually even look at the liquidation levels for Rune. Look at this. You can use this. I just found out. I just realized you could do this. So we can look at the 1-week liquidation levels for Rune. Look at that. Where are the liquidation levels? Oh, 3.49. That's the exact area. So if I was a market manipulator, I would liquidate everyone down here when the FOMC minutes came out. I would just do this. Just, oh my God, FOMC minutes. Okay, quick spike. Take out everyone up to $4. Then boom. 3. Oh, I went too far. Hold on. Got too excited. Wait a second. Hold on. Let me adjust my mic here. No, not $2 Rune. Cotter. Calm yourself. Spike. Okay, 3.9 something. And then boom. All the way down here to 340. And then oscillate. And then we go back up for Jackson Hole and follow the S&P. Something like that. That's kind of what I'm seeing as a potential scenario based on this chart. We could actually go out for a month and see what it looks like. I think it's a little bit too far, but I know 1 week is sufficient. But you can see here also liquidation is 345, and then after that it's like $3 or so. But the big liquidations over here up to the upside 420. I think they're going to want to tag these before any lower moves. So if you were thinking to trade Rune, maybe consider longs at like 348, 349, and then shorts up here at like 415, 420. Those are your kind of your two areas where the maximum level of liquidations will happen. I like these coins that are in this liquidation heat map because I think it really helps provide levels that actually matter for you to consider trading off of. Yeah, so even here in the short term, like if we look 12-hour, right, you can see even down to 370, they might want to liquidate people before going up to 4. So potential. Let me go to like a lower time frame here. Oops. When RSI looks like this, I hate it. I think it's very hard to trade off of it when it's this way. And by this way, I mean just looking like it's not putting in any kind of divergence at all, really. But it might be. It's a very mixed bag. But looking at those liquidation levels, let me go back. Either it's going to move to $4 first and then move to $3.49, or it's going to go to $3.49 and then $4. That's, again, it's the same as Bitcoin, where it's just you have to predict where is it going to go first. And you've got an hour and 20 minutes to kind of predict that. So that's Rune. Solana, I know a lot of people are obsessed with Solana. Solana also on a daily is a bit negative. And the weekly is super negative, but you can see like slight bits of like W's kind of coming in and things pushing higher, and then things that were also already broken down but are trying to recover, like here. So in the interim, I think that Solana is going to run stops on both sides, the same like Bitcoin's going to, and it just comes down to which way it will go first. Again, we can look at liquidation. Let's do this. Sometimes some coins are obvious. I don't think Solana is going to be, but sometimes they are. So 145 is a big zone, right? And if we go to pull out a bit more, let's go out another 3-day. So on a 3-day, you can see liquidations all the way down to like 133, and then up here at 148. Those are kind of your major levels. Let me go to a weekly. Very spread out zones. Yeah, so this is more clear. 135 liquidation for Solana, and then 148 on the upside. Those are kind of your two levels you can watch out for. They might be too spread out to be hit, but these are super, big news events that are happening. So potentially market moving events. So I don't see why they wouldn't take out both of these. Let's look again. Let's see which way. Let's do a little bit of survey. We have like 24 people watching. I wish I could just push out a survey in real time. I think I can, but do you guys think it's going to drop? Which way do you think it's going to go first? Do you think it's going to drop on the FOMC minutes? Do you think we're going to go up and liquidate people at like 150? Or you think we're going to drop and liquidate people at 135? Which way do you think we're going to go first? Down here and liquidate it right at 135? Or are we going to spike up and liquidate right up here at 150? It's really not too big of a move if you look at it this way. It's not insane. It could happen easily with the release of the minutes. It could go down and then up within 30 minutes to an hour. Any thoughts? Anyone? This is the last thing I'm going to talk about, by the way, and then we'll call it for the public show and we'll go to a private one. All right, Cotter's slipping his coin and everybody else is sleeping. I mean, I guess we'll find out. 1 hour and 15 minutes now. Well, S&P is looking a little bit happier. Yeah. All right. Well, since no input, we will wait and see. And I will do the after party. And anybody that is currently a member of TRI, feel free to come to the after party. And I will answer your questions as long as you have them. And I'll probably stay up for the FOMC. I don't know if I'll broadcast for the next hour and 15 minutes. But I'll at least stay up and try to comment a bit. Okay. I'm going to call it here. I will see everybody in the after party, and we can talk about whatever you guys want. If you're not a member of TRI, consider joining. Free trial. And look out tomorrow for our special guests and another special guest on Friday. Thank you to Christopher for finding them, and thank you to our guests. Okay, I will see you guys on the site, and if I don't see you, I will see you next Thursday, probably with a camera, reporting in from Thailand. All right, bye guys.